Well, good morning and welcome back to the Morning Mindset edition of the Live, Build, Change podcast. My name is Kerry Green. I am a retired pastor who is just eager to encourage my brothers and sisters in a way that helps you live every day a little better than the one before. And I'm convinced that most of that has to do with how you think about the day. Are you thinking aligned with how God thinks about himself, the world, you, your role in it? Or are you defaulting to patterns of thinking that are not aligned with God's way of thinking? This Morning Mindset is aimed to help you align yourself every morning. That's why I publish these 365 days a year. You might think of it as an audio devotional, which you can reuse over and over and over. You can share with others because it's a tool that you can use to get your thinking right for each day. Now, as we're headed toward the new year, I wanted to think for a moment about the kinds of things that God says that are foundational kinds of truths about us and about our role in the world. And one of the most well-known sections where I think Jesus speaks to who we are in his kingdom is found in Matthew chapter 5, and it's what we call the Sermon on the Mount. And it says in verse 1 that seeing the crowds, Jesus went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he opened his mouth and taught them. So the Sermon on the Mount, it seems like, was not necessarily meant to be a sermon. He's teaching his disciples. He's teaching the ones who are closest to him. Yet, there is a crowd that's gathered around, and they're listening in. So in that sense, I guess we could call it a sermon. But the things that Jesus says here sound very counterintuitive to our modern ears. He says things that our inner man immediately says, wait a minute, what does that mean? I don't get that. And let me give you an example. The first one, he says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Poor in spirit, that doesn't sound very complimentary, does it? But yet, he says those people are blessed. So we need to do the work of understanding what does it mean that someone is poor in spirit. Poor, perhaps, is not a negative term. Perhaps it's a word being used to express something valuable, and that's exactly what it seems to be, because it says those people are blessed, and they will receive the kingdom of heaven. Now, as I've studied this, what I think poor in spirit actually means is humble. Blessed are those who are humble. They are the ones who will inherit the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, Jesus calls it here. Now, why is humility so important, and why would I want to talk about it as we're looking toward a new year? Part of the reason is because typically what happens when we look toward the new year is we make resolutions and we screw up our confidence and we screw up our courage and our determination that we are going to accomplish XYZ. You fill in the blank. And the focus usually is on our self-determination, our will to do something. And I believe that's why most New Year's resolutions fail. It's because the power source we're using to try and accomplish those resolutions is not adequate for the task. We cannot do the things we want to accomplish on our own, and that's the point Jesus is making here. You are blessed when you are humble. You are blessed when you put yourself under the sovereign and good rule of your Maker. And in return, you receive the kingdom of heaven. So all our ambition and effort and striving really is for naught if we don't receive the kingdom of heaven in the end. And so I want to challenge you as you look toward the new year, consider humility as one of those character traits that you want to grow in. Consider it as the foundational trait. I think that's why Jesus mentions it first, because it's most important. And let's talk again tomorrow about some more foundational issues for the new year on the Morning Mindset.